Well, South Africans have been calling for the arrest of the corrupt for many years, and recently we've seen a number of those arrests take place, mostly in the glare of the public. Now, there are big questions around the Hollywood-style arrests as they've been described. Is there anything that prevents law enforcement agencies from creating a spectacle when making these arrests? Attorney William Booth joins us now for more. William, good evening, and thank you so much for your time on the pulse. And certainly, before we get into our interview, I know it's been quite a turbulent time for you in recent times, and I just wanted to begin with how you're doing.
Good evening. I'm doing fine. It has been a bit hectic, but I'm sort of managing things and able to chat to you.
Well, we're certainly grateful for it. Let's talk about then the rights of accused, especially at the instance at which they are being arrested. What rights do people have?
Well, first of all, I think it has to be established whether or not there is an arrest warrant for a particular accused. Based on that, then the police can contact the accused and ask him to come to the police station and execute the warrant. Or they could technically go to the accused's home or his business and arrest him. I think it all depends on the type of case and also how long ago the alleged offense was committed. So if somebody's now being charged with an offense, let's say committed 5 or 6 years ago, I wouldn't expect the police to go and actually physically arrest somebody. They could, in fact, summons that person to appear in court on a specific date. So it depends on the type of case, and it depends on how long ago the alleged offense took place. But one would expect police to act in accordance with the law and make sure that all the requirements with regard to an arrest are fulfilled. So if the police know that somebody is not a flight risk, in my view, it's not necessary to go and arrest that person, let's say on a Friday afternoon, and detain him the weekend at the police cell and take him to court on the Monday. But, again, it depends what type of case we're dealing with. I mean, if somebody is in the process of committing an armed robbery or attacking or raping somebody, busy committing a murder, well, then it's completely different, and the police can then arrest without a warrant.
Many of the cases that have been followed up on in recent weeks, of course, are around things that have happened over the last decade or so. Was the arrest of the suspects, especially those who were not necessarily a flight risk, do you think that that was done by the book?
Well, look, technically, the police could go arrest somebody after they've obtained a warrant of arrest and detain them for up to 48 hours. But if it's a case that's happened a long time ago, one would really have expected the police to have done their investigation, made sure that it's unnecessary to detain the person for any specific period of time. And then the point of the matter is, if it happened a while ago and there's no warrant of arrest, then it could be argued that that arrest is in fact not valid. Why arrest somebody when an offence has happened, some years back? It's absolutely not necessary to do so. And again, go back to what I said earlier, why can't that person be summoned to appear in court? I mean, I've dealt with matters where people are charged with large amounts of money, fraud, for example, and they're not actually arrested and locked up. Unless the person is a flight risk, he's about to get onto an aeroplane, and in fact there is a warrant of arrest. So you've got to apply through a prosecutor to a magistrate to issue a warrant, and there must be probable cause as to why the person should be arrested. So, there are other ways of getting somebody to court. So the police have to do their work up front, make sure they've got all the facts, determine whether or not the person can be summoned, or if he's somebody likely to abscond, then they may need to arrest him. But I mean, they can't just go and arrest somebody for an incident that happened 10 years ago without a warrant of arrest.
How much of how things are being done now do you think is also born out of the public pressure? South Africans always say, we don't see anybody getting arrested. We don't see people in orange overalls. So how much of the spectacle of it do you think is to try and fulfill that appetite, I suppose, from the population?
Well, let me tell you, there are many, many people in orange overalls. I think our prisons are bursting at the seam. You have many prisoners kept in cells that are meant for, let's say, 10, but you've got 50 people in the cell. But I agree that to an extent, there's been a huge outcry recently for the police to arrest and the courts to deal with people who are committing a serious crime. But one has to be very cautious and go and arrest when you haven't done your investigation. So we've got to distinguish, let's say, violent crime. If the person is caught busy killing people, shooting at people, robbing banks and all of that, well, then obviously the person can be arrested and has to be arrested immediately and hopefully detained until the completion of the case. But if it's a matter that, let's say, these corruption cases, the flowing from state capture, one can say, well, do all your investigation first, unless, as I said earlier, the person's about to jump on an aeroplane and leave for Dubai. But do your investigation first. Once it's done, then get the case to court. Don't get the case to court, arrest, get the case to court, and then find there's a problem with investigation. And the courts then say, sorry, we're not going to entertain postponement after postponement to have a case investigated, and then in fact strike the case off the court roll. So that actually defeats the whole purpose. So if you've done your homework properly, then you can have a person brought to court, and then the case is ready for trial. So you can't have the public saying, just arrest, and everybody then runs around the police and the NPA arresting. What has got to happen is to make sure that the work is done, the investigation is done, that you've got a good case, and you are likely to succeed in prosecuting the case and getting a conviction at the end of the day and an appropriate sentence to stop, obviously, all this corruption. But don't just go and arrest to kind of appease the public. But then again, you also have cases that are good and strong cases, and the police haven't gone and arrested, and they don't go and comply with the outcry and the dictates of the community.
William, I'm going to push my luck here and ask how closely you're going to be watching developments coming out of the Cape Town Magistrates Court.
No, I watch those developments very closely, but obviously I'm not going to discuss the merits of that case. I've left it to a very professional team, prosecutor and investigating officer, and they've certainly done an amazing job. So I'm not going to debate the issue, but I certainly obviously will be following the events very closely.
Well, fair enough, and we certainly wish you all of the best, Advocate William Booth. Thank you for your time tonight on The Pulse.